luxury box in Jacksonville yesterday. Carolina owner David Tepper was caught on video tossing the contents of a drink at Jaguar fans. This came late in the game. Carolina lost 26-0. First time the Panthers have been shut out in 342 games, dating back to 2002. Richard, please, your reaction to this.
Shaking my head, Skip, because if you go back and look at everything that led to this moment, that led to this team being in the position they were, David Tepper has his hands on everything.
Everything.
And whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent, there were people whose job it is to scout and to understand these college players, to document and show where they should fit in the draft, who they should get, who they should not get. And everybody in this department, I'm not going to speak for anybody because they drafted Bryce Young and they feel good about it, so I'm not going to put any names to it. But there were a lot of people in this building that felt they should have drafted C.J. Stroud. And hindsight is 20/20, and we can see how well C.J. Stroud is doing. But David Tepper went in and said, hey, this is my decision. This is my team. I haven't done any research, but I feel this is the best decision. I want us to draft Bryce Young, and I want us to trade 2 first-round picks and DJ Moore, our top receiver at the time, to go get Bryce Young. And now you go back and look and you say, wow, this team is doing terribly, and it would be okay if they had the pick that they earned by playing this bad. But guess what? They don't. Because their owner got involved and said he wanted Bryce Young. Yep. And so when you think about the situation of him throwing a drink on somebody, I mean, it seems like it's right on course with who he has been in a lot of these situations. He feels like he's above the law. He feels like, hey, I'm a billionaire. I can do as I please, and there will not be any retribution. There will not be any consequence. I can go buy my old boss's house and tear it down and build a bigger house. I can do things and be rude, and there will not be any consequences. And in this case, I would assume he's right, Skip. He's right. There's not going to be a lot of consequence because financial is not going to do it for him. You find him in $500,000, he'll laugh. $1 million, he'll laugh. It won't affect his bottom line in the least. So it won't change behavior, even if what you going to do? Ban him from a game? Suspend him from a couple games? I mean, I'm sure he doesn't want to go to those games. I'm sure he's throwing drinks at people at the game. So
correct.
I just don't know what you do to correct this behavior because they're in a position where it's not correctable and it's habit and it's not changing.
Ooh, Michael.
Yeah, and well, I don't know what they will do because, like Sherm just said, this is an owner and, boy, fining them just doesn't mean to make any sense to me. But I tell you what I do know, if that had been a player, it would have been swift. They would have swept down quickly to send a message to everybody, we will not have that. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So that's where my mind went with it and went soon with her. Like, okay, I want to see now what the NFL does about this. That's a scary situation. That is a scary situation. You don't know what happens. You throw that water, people start coming and running in that box, and you throw it to the wrong people, and they would have rushed that box. And now you got all kind of crazy stuff happening at an NFL game, and that's the last thing the National Football League wants is to be in that type of situation. So I'm shocked if they don't do something. But thing is, if they do, if they say we're going to fine them $5 million, $10 million, I don't know what they do with that $5 or $10 million. If you're going to do something like that, I wanted to get out of the NFL hands and I want to see you hand over $5 million to somebody to say this is his punishment. Don't say, we fined him $5 million and you just throw it in the kitty of the hundreds of billions of dollars you have, that kind of stuff. So, it's something you don't want to see, and the fans have a right. When you have a 2-14 team, and Sherm just told you had your hand all in this, whatever they're saying to you, they've said about all kinds of owners as they're saying. You know what I mean? Because fans take ownership in these teams, and that's what you want them to do. They're buying all your merch. They're showing up at those games. they feel like they have something to say, you can at least listen to that without throwing a drink on them. It's just the wrong thing and a wrong message, just wrong all the way around.
So, to me, and I've been watching, covering, studying your sport for many, many years, this for sure qualifies as conduct unbecoming for a representative of the National Football League. Many, many, many times we have talked on this show about conduct unbecoming on a player that is punished for it, to Michael's point. But I don't know how you punish an owner short of taking away a late round draft pick, take his 6th or 7th round pick away next year. But I'm pretty sure every other owner in this league would stand up and say, over our dead bodies, will we punish an owner like that? Because Pandora's box would fly open, and there has been so much conduct unbecoming on the part of various owners in Indianapolis, in Dallas, the former owner in Washington. I could go on and on and on, and it goes unpunished because they're owners.
The former owner,
yeah.
Right, but even David said, like, you got that team because of an owner acting in an unbecoming way.
You did.
You know what I mean?
But that was really, that was across the line, over the line, unbecoming. Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. But you would think that he would think about that in this situation and say, okay, you know what I mean? Because that's going to give people fodder to bring it all back up again.
Yeah. But obviously, as you guys know, a lot of owners I have had the pleasure and been blessed to be around. They can be hot-headed. They can be gigantically egotistical because that's what drove them to make the money required to buy one of these franchises. So it doesn't surprise me when they act out like this, because obviously his feelings were hurt about what they were saying through the window. I think it was an open window at that point to him sitting up in that box. He was shamed. I'm sure they were saying, Michael, to him just what you were saying, or Richard, what you were saying about, well, you had a hand in this. It's your fault. And
it's your fault.
Yeah, he responds like a child and throws his drink at them. And the only other thing that could happen here is that one of those fans files an assault charge against him. You could try that. You could file a civil...
I'm sure this fan will. I'm sure this guy is, especially after he sees it get this kind of publicity. You know what I mean? And people are talking about it. Trust me, there's some lawyer right now calling him. Oh, there are quite a few looking for him right now.
Yeah.
But again, to this situation, he has enough money that he can fight the case. And that's where you're talking about a fan without those resources. But back to the punishment side of things, and then let's go even further to trying to hire another coach. Like, you're going to have to try to hire another coach. And if this coach hears, well, I mean, it's clearly out there that you get way too involved in the draft process when you literally have hired these guys to run this process. You hired these people, these smarter, these brilliant minds to go and scout, spend hours and hours in their families to go do a job for you to go and say, hey, screw all the work you've been doing. This is my call. I'm thinking as a head coach, if you got a prestigious head coach, somebody who has multiple offers, he's not going to Carolina with David Tepper because I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with somebody that gets too involved in my team and telling me what to do and telling me who I should draft and telling me who I should play and throwing stuff on the fans. I mean, we've looked at a Carolina Panthers game where there was less than, what they say, 100 people in the stands.
True.
And you should be grateful, regardless of what these people are saying, that they're showing up to the games when your team has won 2 ball games out of 16. And these people are still showing up. So you should appreciate the fact that they're showing up to support this team and they're passionate, like you said, Irv. And so he better slow this down, because the more of a bad, this is what, his 2nd year as an owner? 3rd?
I'm losing
track. And you're already getting a bad reputation as an owner. And some of these owners have been owners for a very long time, and I would have guessed he would be until, his time is over. But you're not going to really attract the players and the coaches to change this organization around when you act like this.
But, Richard, you well know there are only 32 of these jobs. Some coach will take this job, even if he has to be the puppet coach for David Tepper, right?
No question. Somebody's going to take it. It's just not going to be the quality of coach that would take it if you weren't this kind of owner.
Yeah.
Right.
Go, Michael.
And we all have to understand, though, now, and I always say this when you get to these kind of guys, these people that are way up here like this, sometimes the greatest asset can be their greatest liability. They've been so successful doing things the way that they do things. And you can't even fault them sometimes when they come in because you're like, whoa, whatever business decisions you made to get to the point where you can purchase an NFL team, I can't say anything about that. So they feel like, oh, well, we made those decisions and it worked over here and we can do it over here. And I try to tell people it's a difference. It's a difference. And that's why I say things like, even if you're an owner, you got to hire people that communicate with guys that are wearing the uniform.
Yep.
You're only used to communicating with the guys that wear suits. And it's different when you're talking to guys that wear uniform. So they have to understand that. Jerry, we're talking about, you talk about those owners, Jerry Jones. This is why we were having that day Saturday.
That's exactly
this is the
right.
Same reason. This is why we were finally having that day.
That's right.
30 years later.
Yeah.
30 years later. It was like, dude, this is, and I even said one time, you can't let your own emotions get in the way of some situations. I was proud of Jerry the other day, allowing Jimmy to have that moment, setting aside whatever went down. But it's not an easy thing because that same ego, Skip, as you just talked about, that's what got them to billions and billions of dollars.
Got them, and obviously it's a sore subject for you now, Michael, but Jerry, after winning 2 Super Bowls with Jimmy, fired Jimmy over who gets the most credit and how involved was Jerry with Jimmy as the GM of the Dallas Cowboys. And as you know, it blew up for reasons that everybody said, what are you doing? You could have won, I don't know, 5 in a row, 6 in a row. And that's going to haunt you for the rest of your born days.